Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I had a picture sent to me, and I want to talk to you about it real quick this morning. In the picture, all the Marines are pictured bowing their heads, standing there in camo, and they are praying. This incident took place at a recent ceremony honoring the birthday of the Corps, and it has the ACLU up in arms. According to Lucius Traveler, a spokesman for the ACLU, Lucius said, quote, "These are federal employees on federal property and on federal time. For them to pray is clearly an establishment of religion, and we must nip this in the bud immediately." When asked about the ACLU's charges, Colonel Jack Fessender, speaking for the commandant of the Corps, said, and I'm cleaning up the language a little bit, "To heck with the ACLU. God bless our warriors. Send the ACLU to Afghanistan and then watch them pray." And the reason I'm telling you this morning is so that everyone will know how stupid the ACLU is in trying to remove God from everything and every place in America. And we will not ever remove God from this program. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Good morning, and thank you very much, Kate Smith, and God Bless America. I'm Zeb Bell, and our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and of course, some of our great advertisers include Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today, get your garbage picked up, call them at 734-6969, and without further ado, we say, wait a minute, I forgot your name. It's been so long. Who are you?
I'm your cohort in crime and the other lady across the way.
Hello, Gina.
Good morning, Sunshine. How are you?
Pretty good. And we won't get into all the
specifics.
Yeah. Yes. But anyhow, I hope you had a wonderful weekend.
Well, it was a working weekend,
yeah,
to say the least. But it was still really nice, and got to enjoy some time with some very wonderful people.
Well, good. And I take it that Kennedy is all excited about second week of school.
Actually, he had a big camping weekend with his dad, and so he was really, really tired. And so now he's actually ready to go to school. They took like a 12-mile hike, and so he thinks school is better than the 12-mile hike.
You know, when you take kids on a hike like that, and the first couple of miles, you know, they are gung-ho, they are running, they are chasing butterflies, and then after about mile number 4, you got to literally drag the kid by his shirt collar to keep him going.
I guess that was pretty much it, too, but he's definitely ready for school today.
Okay. Do we have a pledger?
We have Carl on for the program.
Oh, what a blessing. I haven't heard from him for a long time. Carl, good morning. Give us the pledge, please.
Good morning, Zeb. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, it is so nice to hear from you. I hope all is well in the Clark home.
All's well, and I'll get to see you Thursday over here at Ramsey.
All right. We'll look forward to that. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to seeing you and George, and we'll... I've got some stuff I've copied off and I want to give to you.
All right. Well, Carl, God bless you. Good to hear from you, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, man, that's a treat to have him call in. I appreciate that very much. Thank you, Carl. Appreciate that very, very, very much. Okay, now let's see what else have we got cooking here. The weather forecast. We got to get right to it. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, is our sponsor for the weather, and they've got some how to fix up your home and make simple home repairs, a special course, and it's going to be on September 27th from 4 to 5 p.m. at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. And it's a kind of a do-it-yourself workshop for kids and parents. Don't miss this. It's going to be a lot of fun, and they're going to talk all about the do's and don'ts and how to take care of furniture and everything else. So get a hold of them today and find out more. 678-6945. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for their blue door. And now here is the weather.
It looks like sunny skies for today. High of 86 with an overnight low near 55. Now tomorrow, the winds are going to be picking up out of the west right around 20 miles an hour. That's going to drop the temperatures to about 73. Still going to be sunny, though. Expect an overnight low of 44 for tomorrow night. And then for Thursday, sunny skies, winds dying down to about 8 miles an hour. High of 76 with an overnight low near 48 and currently sitting at 53 degrees here at the KBAR studio.
Wow, does she do a good job on the weather or what? Thank you, Gina. And it's brought to everybody by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for their blue door. Call them at 678-6945. Hey, by the way, I want to remind everybody, the great big Burley Livestock Sale is going to be Thursday at, of course, 10:30. And for all you cattlemen out there, I know we're getting into the fall now, and consignments, you need to call the office at 678-9411, or you can call Merv May at 431-5735. Call Cade Rogie. Call Lance Udy. Call them because this is the sale that works for you. Absolutely. They care about you. They care about your business. Located at 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. It's the Burley Livestock Sale. Don't forget, office number again, 678-9411. Burley Livestock, working for you. All right, give us a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, folks, over the last couple of days, I had a chance to really sit and listen and analyze and really discern what is going on with this administration. And I've never been jealous of other world leaders of any country before Obama took over as president of this country. British Prime Minister David Cameron was speaking last week about terrorism. He was speaking about protecting his country. He was speaking about protecting the people in his country. And his speech last week on terrorism was excellent. And his follow-up and his diligence also very excellent. But here we have Obama. And I just learned something before I came on the air this morning that just absolutely infuriates me. It has been said and possibly leaked from some Pentagon officials that Obama has had briefings on ISIS, this terror vermin group, for over a year. It's not like all of a sudden they crawled out from underneath a rock and here they are, take us or leave us, we're going to cause you all kinds of problems. No. Our president has known about the growing cancer of ISIS for over a year with the briefings and has done nothing. And has not created any strategy whatsoever to combat them, lessen them, kill them. And there was a family on television this morning, excuse me, and they are starting a movement for Obama to resign. Their son was a Navy SEAL. and he was killed over in Afghanistan. And they want this president out of office now. Resign, Mr. President. You are in way over your head. You are in way over your capabilities. You are in way over your abilities ever to lead a country. You can't do it. Resign. I've got to pay some bills, and I want your thoughts. I am so worried. And then, after all this, Libya is now a new hotspot, a bigger hotspot, I should say. Militants have taken over our embassy. They're jumping off the roof of our embassy into the U.S. Embassy pool. We've got problems with Putin and the Ukraine. He'll take what he wants because he knows Obama's not going to do anything. ISIS here and waiting. North Korea's threats. China. They're going to do what they want to do. What in the world kind of a foreign policy do we have? None. Don't forget our friends at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And they've got, I think, a great idea. They've got prepaid gift cards. And you can get these prepaid gift cards and give them to some of your friends or family or whatever, great gifts to give your students, you know, that are going off to school. And then when they come home, they can use those gift cards to get everything clean instead of mom having to do it. Wow, what a great idea. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. They can clean anything and do the job better than anybody else. I know, because I've been going there for a long, long time. Daryl's Cleaners in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Caller, I'll be there in just a minute. Please bear with me. I'm a little bit behind. Don't forget also, for Idaho's #1 choice for wireless high-speed internet, it's SafeLink Internet Services. Absolutely the number to call, 677-8000. 677-8000. No contracts required. No credit checks. Unlimited data, high speeds up to 15 megabytes, and free professional installation. Order now. These are really good people. 677-8000. SafeLink Internet serving you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. I think the reason why things aren't getting done is because the Muslim Brotherhood made it possible for Barack Obama to get into Harvard University, which is almost an impossibility. So I think Barack Obama is a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. That's why nothing's getting done.
I totally agree with you, and I am so concerned about where we are this morning, Tony. They're here. They're planning now, and you probably heard this, but there is a gentleman that has written a book, and I've all of a sudden his name escapes me. I didn't write it down this morning. The name of the book is called Days of Wrath. And this gentleman was featured on many of the talk shows this weekend, and he claims that there's going to be what they call soft targets, schools, churches, movie theaters, highways, that ISIS is going to try to clog up and destroy, and we're not ready for it, Tony. We're not ready for it.
Oh, I know. They're putting out this propaganda now because right now they're starting a fear campaign. Yeah. I think the American people are going to go down like a bunch of sheep.
Okay, but why shouldn't they think that, Tony, when we have leadership that is nothing more than a group of sheep?
Well, we don't have any leadership up in Washington. We're on our own.
Yeah.
As American citizens, we are on our own. That bunch that's up in Washington, D.C. is only worried about their own good times that they've got coming once they get out of office.
I agree. Excuse me, Tony, it's always good to hear from you, my dear friend. God bless you. I appreciate it. Caller number 2, I'll be there in a moment. Don't forget, coming up on next Thursday, September 11th, we're going to have the Hats Off to Farmers and Patriots Day at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459. We are going to start early in the morning, and Chef George Mass is going to have a huge breakfast right outside the front of the store at Ramsey Heating and Electric. All veterans will receive a free breakfast. Just show your card. This is going to be such a great day. God bless Keith and all the folks at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Hats off to Farmers and Patriots Day. Next Thursday, the 11th, don't miss it, at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. I am looking forward to that. Excuse me for the cough this morning. It's the change of seasons with the dust and everything. I'm doing the best I can. I apologize. Hey, by the way, for a lot of you families that are looking for school clothes for your kids or winter clothes for you, Valley White Home and Ranch has everything you need. Everything you need. Jackets and the vests and the caps and the boots and the overshoes and everything you need. What a great selection on clothing. And by the way, they've got all your dog and kitty cat food and your Gallagher fencing. They've got everything for the farm, the family, and the ranch. Mandy and the rest of the crew over there waiting to serve you at Valley Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Please stop in and see those good folks today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, Tony was right. We got a bunch of sheep back there in Washington, D.C. They could take that thing over and straighten things out if they had the Canokes to do it.
You know,
I'm so sick and tired of listening to the Obama BS. Why don't our Congress get busy and do something about this?
You know, Fred, let me interrupt you.
About Obama, he isn't anything. He's a nothing back there.
Well, he always was a nothing, and he was never qualified. He was never qualified to be president of the United States, and now we're seeing the fruits of his no attention to his labors. This man absolutely is too amateurish, too absolutely misguided to be the president of the United States. We don't have a foreign policy, and right now, Fred, I know that you have a wonderful family. I have a wonderful family. And for all the family members out there, I am concerned. This is not being melodramatic. This is not being theatrical, my dear friend. You know it's the truth. Nobody in this country...
Like you, I am concerned about my kids, my grandkids, my great-grandkids, what they're falling into, Sam.
Well, it's not what we're falling into.
This thing, the way it's going, what is going to happen? What these people, I'll tell you, these people are living from day to day.
Yeah.
They don't understand what this country was.
Well, let me tell you this, Fred, and I believe this, and I'm going to take some heat over this from the loony liberals, which is fine. But right now, more than ever before, I encourage each and every mother, father, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, those that are of age, to learn how to protect themselves. Learn about concealed weapons permits. Learn about protecting your property. Fred, honestly, I'm not being a scaremonger. You know it's true. Right now, the government is not there for us. We have to be an entity of protection to ourselves.
Absolutely, no question about that, Tim. And I can't. Congress has got to take a hold of this and do something. We're in big trouble.
We are. And I'm glad you recognize it. I knew you would. But you know, there are those that are so naive and so absolutely in bed with political correctness, they can't see the forest because one tree is standing in their way.
That's right. Well, I'll let you go, bud.
All right. Thanks, Fred. God bless you. Thanks.
You bet.
I mean that. We have got to learn how to protect ourselves, and we are in trouble. The government is not a protectionary device for us. When you have a president stand up at a news conference and say, well, you know how he goes with his verbal pauses, we have no strategy. Oh, boy, when I heard that, a cold chill went down my backbone. Caller, I'll be right there. Please do not hang up. Stay with me. Denny's Restaurant. Oh, we were over there last week. Wow. I had a sandwich that was, what was it called? Moon over my hammy or something like that. I can't remember. It was delicious. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. And I'm telling you, every time we go in there for lunch bunch, everybody enjoys the meal. Everybody enjoys the great service. And it is great service. Everybody enjoys the room. Everybody just enjoys Denny's. That's right. And they've got special savings for seniors, and kids eat free on certain days. Check it out. Denny's Restaurant, what a great place, 611 Overland and Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and you are going to love eating at Denny's. Caller, I'll be right there in a minute. Stand by. Don't forget, too, Berry Equipment and Rental. They've got end-of-season inventory sale, some really great bargains at Berry's, and they've got 3 locations to serve you: Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln in Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Don't forget, super savings on Coyote tractors, Hustler mowers. They've got it all for you right there at Berry Equipment and Rental. Everything you need, along with the best of mechanics and a great shop, too. Berry Equipment and Rental. Put it down. Stop in. Addison Avenue West, Twin Falls, South Lincoln, Jerome, and Highway 30 in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, I heard I don't know if it was on TV or radio, but this guy seemed to know what he was talking about. He said our Army was at a 1940 level.
Yeah.
And our Navy was at a 1920 level.
Yeah.
The rest of the world knows that we have weakened.
Why, in your right mind, Keith, if you were a prize fighter and you were sitting in your corner and your cornerman turned around and yelled over to the other side and said, "Hey, my fighter's going to lead with a right hook and then follow with a left jab," what would you think about telling the opposition about how you're going to fight? That's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, and our intelligence, I really don't know that we have any intelligence anymore as far as the U.S. government is concerned. And then I just heard on Fox this morning that Obama has been dealing with this ISIS thing now for about 2 years.
He has had briefings. He has had briefings on ISIS for over the last year, and still no strategy, still no attempt to kill and destroy these vermin that are out to kill us. Keith, I'm just going to come right out and say it this morning, and you can think less of me if you want. I want this president to resign so bad. I want this office to be gone so bad. I want somebody that's going to go in with a John Wayne attitude to protect you and me.
Well, that's certainly true. You know, being an old Navy man, I've been to Bremerton, Washington, and to see all of these ships, including the one I was on, are just mothballed, just sitting there rusting away.
Yeah.
And we are not refitting them. We're not doing anything. Yeah, we can build a super carrier like the Ronald Reagan, some of those, but that's not going to be enough. It's going to have to be numbers. That's how we won the Second World War.
And not only that, Keith, but we have got to be strong internally. Our National Guard, our awareness, our news media, everybody has got to do their job and their part. We've got to be very cognizant that there is a group of people right now that have infiltrated this country already and are waiting for the green light to go ahead and kill us. And Keith, right now, that is a very scary subject.
But you know what the problem is? This was New York last time. We don't live in New York. We don't need to worry. You know, that's 2,000 miles away. But we do need to worry because we will lose within if we don't get our head out of our backside.
I agree with you. Keith, thank you for your call. I got to run. I got another call waiting. Caller number 2, wait. I'll be there as quick as I can. Right now, we're going to have the Capital Press Ag Minute. I will be right back. Don't you dare go away. Thank you.
The Capital Press Ag Minute is brought to you by OnlyAg.com.
Federal wildfire fighting officials are asking members of the public with drones to steer clear of all areas where they are fighting fires. The small remote-controlled helicopter-like devices can interfere with firefighting efforts, officials say. Federal authorities say drone flights in Washington state and elsewhere in the West this summer are an emerging hazard. Drones may be a problem for firefighters if the drones fly into restricted airspace over or near a wildfire, where air tankers and helicopters could be in the air, said Mike Ferris, a spokesman for the U.S. Forest Service. If firefighters spot a drone close to a fire, they may suspect an aerial delivery or retardant in water from air tankers and helicopters, Ferris said. This is Hannah Brose.
To receive instant, exclusive, unlimited access to the West Agricultural News Source, register your account today at CapitalPress.com.
Brand new store, brand new merchandise, same friendly service. Absolutely the nicest people in the world over at Snyder's Surplus, and they're located at 112 South, 200 west of Rupert. Once again, it's not just Army and hunting supplies. They've got something for everybody. They've got office furniture. They've got desks. I got to get over there and check them out. I need some more. And then they've got all your hardware. They've got gun cases, and some are set up and ready to go. They've got banana boxes of specialized food in case of an emergency. They've got everything at Snyder's Surplus, 112 South, 200 west of Rupert. The only thing they don't have is you coming through the door right now at Snyder's Surplus. Get over there today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Be careful what you ask for. I, too, would like to get rid of the president, but look who we've got waiting in the wings. You know, he's going to be at least as bad as the one we've got.
Yeah, but wait a minute, Carl. Wait a minute. And I think you'll agree with me on this. To let what is happening slide by for the fear of what might happen with another person, i.e. Biden taking over or whatever, we can't sit there and rest on a lack of laurels from this president. I mean, this man is a phony. This man is a hypocrite. This man has no foreign policy. This man has led us down the possible path of destruction internally. I'm scared of this man, and I don't think, honestly, we can exist as America with our Constitution for the next 2 years with him.
I agree with that, but I'm really concerned about a guy that has to cheat on these tests to make it through college, running our nation, and it just scares me. As to what we've got. I don't know where to go from that, Zeb.
Well, when you hear that the man has had briefings for over a year on ISIS, and then last week at a news conference he says we have no strategy to take care of them, what does that tell you?
Yeah, it sounds like he's working with them. So... at least it sounds to me that way.
You know what? I agree with you. I never thought I would say that about the President of the United States. But this man and his administration, they have got me so afraid right now for the protection of my family and my friends. I don't trust him at all.
You know, Zeb, if we make it through this and we get back to where we should be, history will show that he is worse than Jimmy Carter.
Oh, absolutely. Carl, God bless you. It's so good to hear from you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I want to remind everybody, too, about, real quick, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Zollinger Quarter Horse Ranch, the legend lives on. 26th annual production sale going to be Saturday, September 13th at 10 a.m. with the preview starting, and then the sale up at the ranch, 1994 South, 100 east of Oakley. They've got weanlings, and they've got 2- and 3-year-olds, and they've got the best of horses for confirmation, disposition, and performance. Let me tell you something. Zollinger Quarter Horse Ranch, long known and respected as having the horses you need to get the job done. Call Jerry for more information, 670-3833, or Linda at 862-3402, or go to their website, ZollingerQuarterHorseRanch.com. Big sale on the 13th of September at Zollinger Quarter Horse Ranch. Don't miss it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. a friend sent me a link and an article on Examiner. That's, I think, the Los Angeles Examiner, but it's examiner.com. And there's a CIA former operative said that Obama is a radical Muslim, and it's pretty convincing article in line with what you've been saying. The fact that he knows all this stuff going on, and yet he just says we don't have a plan. Well, like the previous caller said, he's on the other side. He's one of them.
Adrian,
he may not agree with the extreme terrorism that they're doing, but he's a Muslim.
Adrian,
he's always been a Muslim.
All right, stop right there. I do not have, and I can't say this emphatically to a fact, I do not have the written information or anything in front of me that absolutely unequivocally tells me that he is a Muslim. But what a lot of people fail to remember is that he grew up in that region of the world. He grew up under the auspices and education of the Muslim and Islam world. And a lot of people, not just me, a lowly radio host in southern Idaho that does get heard all over the world now, it's not just me that are preaching that perhaps his colors and allegiance are elsewhere. It's many people. Thousands of people are agreeing. Why can't people accept the fact that maybe this man is not what he pretends to be?
Well, and it's really interesting. You know, I listen to talk show hosts yourself and in the national people, and they're all saying the same thing. Why is he not doing anything? And nobody wants to say what's so obvious, what you just described. His whole background and training, Zeb, has been in the Muslim religion. And, he was also a Marxist. I mean, Bill Ayers is his good buddy. And so he's part of the Rules for Revolution, or radicals. You put the two things together, the Marxism and the Muslim thing, and the fact that he knew about all that was going on with ISIS. We armed the wrong people. We threw the baby out with the bathwater, as bad as Mubarak and all the rest of them were over there. I mean, he's basically lined up with the Muslim Brotherhood, and now he's trying to, by doing nothing, he's letting them run almost scot-free over there.
Well, listen to this. Give me a short answer on this, because I want to get some other people on, too. Sure. But you are very well informed and educated as to what's going on politically. But think about this. Our country, the United States of America, is supposedly the smartest, wisest, most intelligent country in gathering all the intel from around the world 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Why, Adrian, all of a sudden have we been besieged with ISIS, and oh my goodness, where did they come from? Why?
Well, that's just it, but you bring up a good point, and the thing is, look at some of the close associates with, I'm sure you've seen these on the internet, close associates, his advisors and so forth, are very strong ties to Muslims right there in the White House.
Yeah.
And so you're saying, well, why isn't this intelligence? Intelligence probably going on, but it's probably not making it. They're making decisions not based on intelligence, based on a political agenda.
I agree. Adrian, well stated. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much. God bless.
Yep.
Thank you.
10 o'clock tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Bye. Thank you. Think about it, folks. How in the world could ISIS and these problems all of a sudden just, whoop, there they are? No, I'm not buying into this. And we have so many problems right now around the globe. Like I said, Putin and the Ukraine. He's going to do what he wants to do, okay? And what about North Korea? Now they're really saber-rattling over there. China. China, I don't trust any one of them. And I think that country is just absolutely lurking in the grass. And then all the other hotspots in the world. And ISIS saying that they're going to start possibly soft targets here in the United States. Do we have any common sense for lessening our military? Do we have any common sense for lessening our Air Force, the number of our troops, the Navy with our ships, etc.? We should be enhancing. We should be enhancing those numbers. Why is this administration in a state of almost wrath and hatred for everybody to come after us? Are we lessening, weakening, and bowing and kowtowing? There is no answer for that other than that's the nature of this administration. To apologize and kowtow and ask for forgiveness. And right now, that could be the death knell for America. I despise this man. I despise this administration. And I'm going to go a step further than that. I despise the Democrats that support him. Calls are welcome, 436-2244-1866-927-4587. Don't forget Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street on the Square in Rupert. Oh my, you couldn't have a better place to get breakfast, lunch, or supper. Monday through Friday, 6 to 6, Saturdays and Sundays, 6 to 2. And they've got a bakery over there. Oh my goodness, wedding cakes, cookie bars, homemade bread, cinnamon rolls. Oh my, they're the size of a football. They're great. All you have to do is call, and they'll have what you need ready for you. 436-0354. Sophie's Chatterbox on the Square in Rupert. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244-1866-927-4587. There's something else that really bugged me when I listened to the news early this morning, was taking some notes for this program. And maybe this won't have the chilling effect on you that it did on me, but just think about the possibilities, if you will. Scientists this morning now claim they have a way. And, wait a minute, before I say this, Gina, get on the line with me real quick. I want to hear your response to this.
Okay.
Scientists this morning now claim that they have a way to erase bad memories from the brain and only leave good memories for you.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's wrong on so many levels.
Does it not scare you, my dear?
Absolutely. It frightens me to death that somebody could be messing with my memory.
You see, here's the deal, Gina, and I want you to give a rebuttal on this.
Okay.
You know, you've got a society that right now is so bent on socialism. You have a society that is so bent on globalization. You have a society that is so bent on political correctness. Oh, you don't agree? Well, here, put these strobes on your earlobes and we're going to change and alter your mindset. Gina, this is now possible.
Orwellian atmosphere.
Bingo.
It scares me to death. They're trying to connect us into what is, if you're a Trekkie or whatever, trying to get us into the collective where we all, plug into one mindset, and then our thoughts and our memories are just into the collective.
What they're saying, and there is a little credence of honesty here, a little, but the fear is always overcoming me with what they could do. But they're claiming, these scientists say, this would be a good thing, that we can go in and we can alter the lobes of the brain so that it only remembers the good things. Why, we could use that for our troops coming home with PTSD. See, this is the angle that they're going to play it on.
That's wrong on so many levels, to be messing with somebody's mind.
Yes.
And to erase memories. Memories are what creates the person, and it creates their personality.
Good or bad.
Good or bad. And that is just, wrong on so many levels.
Yeah, and does it, think back 10 years. What were you doing, quickly, I got to do a weather, but what were you doing 10 years ago?
10 years ago, I was just graduating college.
All right. Did you have any idea that you would be seeing, hearing, studying, and being vigilant about what's happening right now?
I would never thought in my wildest dreams that any of this would have come to fruition.
Me neither. And you mentioned George Orwell, or the Orwellian Thought of 1984, that book that we all read through high school and everything.
Yeah.
You know, forget the date, but just remember the content of the book, and it's here.
It is here, and that is the frightening thing, and it's like nobody's really speaking up against it. They're just all letting it happen.
Can you imagine, honestly, a society that would encourage this kind of scientific study and or going down the street, there's Zebel, he doesn't believe in this, that, or the other, and throwing him into a van and all of a sudden dropping me off at another street corner an hour later, my whole mind has been altered. And honestly laugh, but this can't happen now.
It could happen. It could happen to anybody at any time if you're in opposition to the government.
Oh, I'm telling you. Thanks, Gina. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Don't forget, we got a wetter. I hope it's not going to get wetter. We've got a weather forecast coming up right now with Mad River Laser. Thank you, Nicole, at 502 East Street in Rupert. Oh, I love these people. They've got customized T-shirts for just $10. That's right, men's, women's, and children's. Amazing back-to-school deal. They've got the custom hoodies on sale for just $24. Hunting season, hey, the buck knives. They got buck knives, and if you want them engraved, you can get them free if you just go in and buy your buck knives from Mad River Laser. 502 East Street in Rupert. Wonderful people at Mad River Laser. Here now is the weather.
Sunny skies for today, slightly breezy. Expect a high of 86. Tonight, low near 45. Now, tomorrow, winds will be picking up considerably out of the west, right around 20 miles an hour. Still going to be sunny, but much cooler, high of 73. Expect an overnight low near 44. And for Thursday, winds dying down, sunny skies, and a high near 76.
There you go. Very well done. Thank you very much. And that's brought to you by Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. Wonderful people. And stop over and see them today. All right, let's get some calls in here. 436-2244-1866-927-4587. There is a company. I don't know too much about these folks other than they had an artist, a graphic artist, create a coloring book that was warning us Americans about terrorism. And in this coloring book for youngsters to be aware and cognizant of what's happening in the world, basically it was making everybody aware that the terrorist threat here in America is real, okay? And there's a coloring book as to how we should be very, very informed about ISIS and other terrorist activities going on. And the coloring book was made to create an awareness for youngsters and then also their parents, etc. Well, the White House, our White House, came out and officially called these coloring books trash. Trash. Because this company, and I guess they're donating all the proceeds from what I have surmised so far, the White House called them trash. Why is it that this White House, this administration, is always seeming to be lessening the terror threat or minimizing it or siding with the other side, like the hiring, if you will, of Muslim Brotherhood members to be in this administration? Oh, well, we're all inclusive and all this kind of garbage. And then our own Mike Simpson coming out and categorizing those of us that were against the Muslims and Muslim Brotherhood members being in this administration as McCarthyists. Why is that? Why is that? Why should we sit back and wait until something happens and then say, I told you so? Why is that? Give me a call, 436-2244-1866-927-4587. You can't turn on the news. You can't do anything today without being aware and cognizant. If you are putting your head in the sand, God help you and your family. There are so many things that we need to know. There are so many things that we need to be aware of. And by the way, the NSA, why are they spending so much time on you and me, taping me, and recording your phone calls, and checking your emails, and finding out about little Johnny riding his bike down to the neighbors, or maybe Aunt Millie doing something at a card game to get involved politically. They're finding out all this stuff. Why can't the NSA and all of its knowledge and eavesdropping, why can't they find out a whole heck of a lot more about ISIS and keep us safer? You know, I was listening to a couple of commentators early this morning at about 4:30, and they were asking that question, and I commend them for bringing it up. Why? Why is NSA, basically our national spy organization, why are they paying so much attention to common everyday Americans and their lifestyles? And why aren't they doing more to protect us from what might happen, like I said earlier, with some of those soft targets about ISIS coming in and trying to blow up churches or blow up schools or movie theaters or the infrastructure of our highways? Why aren't we doing more that way than coming after me and or you and finding out what kind of books we read, what kind of politics we have, etc.? I just don't think that this government, led by this administration, is doing at all a good job protecting you and me. Especially, and I go back to this point again, finding out that this president gets a tap on the shoulder over a year ago. Please come into a meeting. We're going to tell you all about ISIS. We're going to tell you all about these radical Islamists that want to kill everybody in the world that's not a Muslim. And getting this information and then not doing anything about it and telling press people at a press meeting at the White House last week, we have no strategy. Oh my. Oh my. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There is a great big tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh my, look at these low prices. They've got some passenger car tires starting at just $39.99, low cost, all season design. They've got the Eclipse tire. Wow, that is a good tire. All season traction, 70,000 mile warranty starting at just $63.59. Oh my, they've got custom wheels on sale, and they've got the best brake value promise in the industry, professionally trained technicians, free brake inspections and estimates. Oh, you stop in and see them today. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. 7 locations to serve you. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poleline and Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, Gina, as a single mom, and Kennedy in, 7th years, 1st grade.
Yep.
Second grade, pardon me. Oh boy, Kennedy's going to come up and whoop me in the side of the face.
I know.
When you hear all this stuff about, well, we have no strategy, when the president has supposedly been informed and all this information has been provided to the strongest man in the world with all the military, everything at his beck and call, doesn't that scare you?
It scares me that our government has no stance on any other government, and it scares me that our government is just being so lackadaisical about what's going on.
Oh.
You know, it's like they don't even care. It's like they're welcoming it. It's like they're just opening up the doors and saying, okay, we're going to let all of this happen. We're going to knowingly do this to tear down our country.
What is more concerning to you right now? Is it the economy? Is it jobs? Is it unions? Is it, or is it the threat that we have trained killers in our midst right now that want to do away with the infidels, you and me. What scares you the most right now?
I would honestly say probably first the terror threat, secondarily the pretty much open border policy, after that the economy and jobs, and basically the future for our kids.
See, there you go. You just touched on it in the same order that I would. And yesterday on Labor Day, Obama was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, bragging and cheering and screaming at the crowd for unions to take over more power in this country.
No more unions.
Yeah, I agree. I've got a call. I'll take it quickly. You only got a minute left. Good morning. You're on the air.
Okay. I think that's interesting. I think he is sending code to his enemies. He's telling them that he doesn't have a plan. How about that?
Yeah.
And then, isn't he about to get on the airplane and go all over the world to take care of monkey business and leave our country in the hands of Joe Biden?
Which absolutely is chilling to the nth degree.
Yeah. Well, and so Obama, he's getting out of the country. He's just told them we don't have a plan. How about all those people that just came across our border?
Yeah.
And they are everywhere in our country.
You know, really, when you think about it, Chris, real quick, give me a short answer on this. I'm almost out of time. Every day since we started getting the Guatemalans and the Costa Ricans and everything else and all these children, has anybody done anything to curb that problem?
No, and now he's delaying his decision about something until after the election.
Yeah.
What was it? I can't remember. But it is very important. And no, I think we are on hold until his buddies are on our shore.
I'm scared. I really am.
Too.
And I do appreciate your call. Chris, thank you so much. God bless.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah, the delaying, if you will, of the possible amnesty and everything else. Why? Why delay? Well, our borders are nothing more than porous Swiss cheese, and we have no leadership. I mean, how much longer are we going to wait? We have no leadership with Obama, plain and simple. I'm going to take a break. I'll be back in 6. Don't go away. Oh, welcome back. Zev at the Ranch on a Tuesday. I keep thinking it's Monday. I know you've had that same thing happen to you too, haven't you? Anyway, it is Tuesday, September 2nd, and welcome back. And we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, and they are Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and resources. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
You know, Western Waste Services, I want to amplify the fact that get on the route service. Call them at 734-6969 and tell them you want your garbage picked up on a weekly basis. Oh, my goodness, are they good? Are they efficient? They're reliable. They are always at your disposal. We've been on that route service for a long time right here at the ranch, and it has been very nice. Don't worry about your garbage. It's gone. It's out of there. Call them at 734-6969. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Thank you very much. By the way, don't forget, next week on Thursday the 11th, we're going to be celebrating Patriots Day and Hats Off to Farmers Day at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Big breakfast at 7:30 in the morning out in front of the store with George Mass and all kinds of door prizes, everything. It's going to be phenomenal. We're going to be broadcasting over there next Thursday on 911. Don't forget to our friends at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Thank you very much for all that you do. Wonderful, wonderful people. Joel Heward, the manager and owner. It's a family place. serving families. That's right. And if you can't make it into their office to talk to them, please give them a call at 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Joel Heward and the staff of Hanson Mortuary serving you always with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please call them again today, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert. A very dear friend of mine is waiting patiently on the phone line right now, and we say good morning to Mr. Dan Gaynor. Good morning, Dan. How are you?
Doing pretty well. How are you, Zeb?
Well, good. Did you have a good end of summer holiday, Labor Day weekend?
Well, I'd like to say yes, but the answer is really no. I've been fighting, feeling sick recently, and I was kind of sick over the weekend, so not the best. But hey, you live in the land of the free and the home of the brave still, and that means every weekend is still better than what a lot of people have.
Amen. Dan, you wrote a piece, a couple of things I wanted to mention this morning, and one that I'd like you to get into first and foremost, and then we'll get into the other, about how the media are aiding the Obama administration in destroying the for-profit college market that caters to low-income and working-class people. Explain that to me, please.
Well, the Obama administration has been trying for several years to squash the for-profit colleges. And that's, we all know the names, these national names, whether it's, Phoenix or, University of Phoenix or, Lincoln Technical or any of these that basically provide education for non-traditional students and often non-traditional education, certificate programs and things like that. And the Obama administration tried to force through regulation a couple years ago, and it got squashed by a judge because of what they were doing. And now they're back to take another bite at the apple. And, what they're trying to do is set up regulations that basically say, a certain percentage of your graduates have to be employed in the field of the degree that they take, or you're not eligible for federal loans. Now that sounds good in theory, except that only applies to for-profit education. So you and I could go to a traditional four-year college, take a degree in anything, journalism, politics, museum studies, whatever, and no problem. You don't have to get a job in it. You come out and you could be, sweeping floors. The only difference is, of course, you'll be owing a lot more money. It's a ridiculous double standard, and it's so bad that the Washington Post, not exactly the land of liberal journalism, sort of the quintessential land of liberal journalism, and they came out the other day in an editorial and said this is wrong. That this is the Obama administration. Obama came out and wants to talk about educating people. He would really push for people getting more education. And then what they're doing, they're in fact now jeopardizing the education for up to 7.5 million Americans. That's how many people who go to these for-profit schools. So what we did, this is not a story that kind of bubbles up necessarily to evening news because it doesn't lend itself to good video. A lot of kids sitting around in a classroom doesn't make good video. But we looked at the top three of the top 5 newspapers. So I looked at USA Today, Los Angeles Times, and New York Times. And by a factor of 15 to 1, they were against for-profit education. Now, that's the news stories. That's not the opinion pages. That's not, the editorials. That is how the news stories portray an industry. And I mean, you've seen this because you happen to work in an industry that the media hate. You work in talk radio. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine any industry? How do you survive as an industry when the major media are against you by a factor of 15 to 1 at a time when the government is pushing for more regulations to beat up your industry?
Yeah.
You don't have any friends in the media, and you're facing this new regulation environment that could harm your industry. And in this case, in the past year, actually just a few months ago, the government helped force out one of the for-profit players at Corinthian colleges, and that had 100,000 students.
You know, Dan, I'm sitting here and I just wonder why, with all the news stories of Obama and his administration basically taking their six gun out of their holster and shooting themselves in the foot every day, why would they do this to create another loophole and hole in the wall for education not to be better in this country?
Well, I mean, right now, for-profit colleges serve about 13% of the people.
Right.
Now, think about that for a second. It wasn't that long ago that for-profit education probably served like 1 or 2%. It's a up-and-coming development. The left hates up-and-coming developments. They hate, they're fighting Uber. They're fighting, which is a taxi cab service. They're fighting drones. They fight all sorts of new technology because new technology changes things. Well, in this particular case, it changes things for perhaps the most liberal group in the country, college professors. So these college professors are looking around and saying, oh my gosh, we could be out of jobs, we could lose our tenure, we could, people might stop going, they won't ever, in our lifetime, they won't ever stop going to Harvards and Yales, but some of these smaller schools, they might skip them and go to more competitive colleges. So you got to stop that, nip it in the bud. And Obama is nothing if he's not friendly to his liberal brethren.
Absolutely. I want to take some time and talk to you about the left-wing donors, the big money, the big kahunas that have basically the control through their purse strings to change a lot of things. And it's not just people like Mayor Michael Bloomberg or George Soros. There's others that are ready to reach down into their billfolds and basically buy the type of America they want. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we just did a report because, you keep hearing everywhere in the news they complain about the Koch brothers. Oh, the Koch brothers are funding this or that. And, they don't want to talk about the other guys. Well, there are a bunch of liberal donors out there. We picked 5 of them that we think are sort of in the same mold as Soros, even if they don't give as much money. But, they might inherit his crown for pushing liberal agenda. So you mentioned Bloomberg. Bloomberg gives money in $50 million, lots. He's pushing climate change, and of course, we all know he's pushing to take away our gun rights.
Yes.
Then there's Warren Buffett, who has been all over the news lately because he is helping fund Burger King's, acquiring a Canadian company so that it doesn't have to pay taxes. Well, Warren Buffett is also pretty much the king of abortion in this country. He has helped fund to the tune of $1.2 billion, billion dollars, the abortion industry in this country. Beyond him, beyond that funding, Buffett is also really involved in funding media. He owns numerous newspapers. He's, just as Bloomberg. Bloomberg owns Bloomberg Business Week, Bloomberg News Service. That's pretty much a common area for them. You got Tom Steyer, who's committed $100 million to fund liberal, i.e. Democrat candidates this election who are pushing climate change alarmism. Do the media care about that? No. Do they care about the fact that he's made most of his money off of coal? No, that would seem to be hypocritical. They don't care. There's Pierre Omidyar, who very few people know. He's one of the eBay people, but he has thrown $250 million to launch a new media outlet called First Look Media. Mm-hmm. It's being led by Glenn Greenwald, who's been involved in some of the WikiLeaks reporting. But Greenwald is also wildly anti-Israel, very liberal, very socially liberal particularly. Not a big fan of America. He's gay. He doesn't live in America because he can't move his husband to America because of immigration laws. So he writes a lot of negative stuff about America. And then the last one we did was Jonathan Soros, George Soros' own son. Now, he doesn't have the money the others do yet. I mean, Soros himself has got, $30-some billion. But his son Jonathan is very involved in the Democracy Alliance. That's this liberal group of donors that pick candidates to help fund. And Jonathan Soros is going around funding candidates who want to manipulate the election process to allegedly take money out of the election process. In reality, what the left's strategy is to take conservative money out of the election process. They don't want to take liberal money out of it. They just want to make sure that conservatives aren't able to donate. So they either want to publicly out them like they did with the Proposition 8 people so that they can destroy them, or they want to basically make it so that companies can't give money, but unions still can.
You know, Dan, is it safe to say, or would you agree with this, that these individuals that you mentioned, whether it's Steyer, whether it's Bloomberg, doesn't make any difference which of the ones you mentioned, but they literally want to buy America and reshape, remold, and destroy the Constitution so that they can create the America that their ideology wants? Is that safe to say?
I mean, it's certainly true in a lot of it. I wouldn't say necessarily destroy the Constitution, but manipulate it the way they want. I mean, Bloomberg flat out doesn't believe in the Second Amendment. Just doesn't believe in it. And he's already dumped money into various elections, trying to buy the elections for people who are against the Second Amendment. Well, I mean, the left rails on money and politics and then ignores people like this. The media do the same thing. They know, that's okay because they agree with positions that Bloomberg and Buffett and Steyer and these others hold. Well, no, it's either right or wrong. It's either and there's no way to go about fixing it until you start changing the Constitution and really making it worse. The left complains a lot about the Citizens United ruling. And they say, we got to get money out of politics. We got to overturn that ruling. But what they don't want to tell you is what the ruling was about. Mm-hmm. The ruling was about the ability to create a film about Hillary Clinton leading up to the election. Well, I'm not a First Amendment expert, but I've worked with the First Amendment for my whole career. And I can tell you, I'm a pretty firm believer that, that whole Congress shall make no law thing applies to free speech, freedom of the press, and you can make a movie about Hillary Clinton if you want to, and nobody can stop you, not even the Federal Election Commission. But that's what the left wants. They want government to serve as an arbiter about speech, about free press, and that leads us almost immediately into censorship.
Dan, when you look at the overall picture of America, with the man on the street interviews and the lack of intelligence, the lack of response for what's going on is appalling. And some of these people have no clue who the vice president is or anything about our country, our history, etc. How concerned are you right now today that we're not going to be able to measure and or stop what these people are trying to do?
Well, it's not just them, but I look at both internal and external threats, and our ability to impact them has changed. Yeah. So when you and I were younger, the concept of Fortress America, that America could stand against as a bastion for freedom against other peoples in the world, other governments in the world, that was really true. But now we have social media and internet media that are global. And so what happens is the world, which is a pretty screwed up place, now has influence on America, maybe even more so than we have influence on the world. So we have foreign media outlets that don't like America, covering America, reporting on America, and that being featured prominently on the internet and even having websites. Al Jazeera America exists. That's an anti-American Qatar, the nation of Qatar, funded TV network that's pro-terrorist, pro-Hamas. Qatar also funds Hamas, which we call a terror group. We've got RT, which is the mouthpiece for the Putin administration that's going around invading its neighbors in Europe and Asia. And so our ability to fend off these invaders is different than it used to be. I'm concerned about that on the external side, and I'm very concerned about it on the internal side. For all the advances that the right has made in media, and we've made a lot. There are websites out there, whether it's CNS News, which we put out, or Breitbart, or Free Beacon, or anything that's not traditional media, Fox and The Blaze. But for all those that are out there, the left has made much more enormous advances. So we're not at square one anymore, but they're so far ahead of us. And they use that power of the press against us all the time.
But Dan,
if there are people, and I always say this, if there are people out there listening right now who really want to make an impact in the conservative movement, and whether if you're a young person, you're thinking about what career to go into journalism, whether it's conservative journalism or traditional journalism, but go into journalism with a different point of view. Go into it with a more conservative point of view. Find the stories that we consider news.
Absolutely.
And if you're got some people, some of those rich ranchers living out there, you want to fund conservative journalism, because we are so far behind that we're basically doing, it's fighting guerrilla warfare. Well, you can survive fighting guerrilla warfare for a long time, but eventually you got to put armies in the field. Eventually, we've got to put more conservative journalists out there in every state doing stories that traditional media aren't doing.
Absolutely. Dan, we've got a caller with a question. Stand by. Caller, go ahead quickly. I've only got 3 minutes left.
Yes, Dan, I hadn't read the book Righteous Indignation by Andrew Breitbart, and I've read it, and I've almost reread it again, and I was just so impressed, and I felt that he was such a ground, he was on the ground. He even came to Challis, Idaho, and met with the Tea Party people. I was going to go. I didn't go. I wished I would have. But he was on the ground. He would confront people right there. He didn't stay in his ivory tower and broadcast his show. And I think that his leadership was going to be so strong, that he was so unique, that they literally, his death was no accident in my mind. And so there's so many things that have gone on that are so reminiscent of what happened to him, through people that are willing to grow, change, and stand up for the right. And there has to be so many of us to stop it, that I wonder if we're going to be able to recruit enough in time to do so. And I'll hang up there.
It's a good, fair statement. Go ahead, Dan.
First of all, the great expression, the great quote, all it takes for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.
Right.
Yeah, the Edmund Burke quote. Now, and Andrew knew that. I didn't know Andrew well, but I knew him some, and I knew him on social media. I don't believe anything untoward happened. Andrew had heart problems. He was a workaholic. He did not take good care of himself. He lived fast and died young. And God bless him, because he was a really incredible guy. And but we need more people like that. You never know you're going to win a fight until you fight it. I mean, if you just roll over and that's what we're seeing in Iraq. We watch the Iraqi military roll over and not fight. Well, that's not like us. We don't do that in this country. We don't roll over and not fight. So if you're conservative and you consider what's happened to your country bad, you got to stand up. And it doesn't matter whether you're not able to do much. If you're just able to donate $5, you donate $5. If you donate your time, you donate your time. If all you do is complain, call news outlets when they do bad stuff and complain, you do that. But don't be silent. Don't roll over, because that's not the American way.
Absolutely. The Vice President of Business and Culture from Media Research Center, my friend Dan Gaynor, always a very good guest to tell it like it is. Dan, God bless you, man, and I'll be in touch to have you back in the future. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Look forward to it, and take care.
God bless. Thank you. Dan's a straight shooter, and I really appreciate. He's a veteran editor with more than 2 decades of experience in print and online media back in Washington, D.C. Dan Gaynor, thank you very, very much. Very honest appraisal of what's happening or not happening in the media business. Thank you. Hey, let's remind you about Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Oh, my goodness. Open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. And they've got the 2015 models coming in now. Dirt bikes, Can-Am, side-by-sides. Rebates on a lot of 2014 models. Oh, my goodness. You better stop in and check out the accessory department. And don't forget to, excuse me, I'm coughing, they've got an outstanding service department. If you've got a problem, need it fixed, they can take care of it. Brad and the rest of the crew at Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, where the fun is sold. Excuse me for the sore throat this morning and the cough. A lot of dust and whatever in the air this morning. I'm sure a lot of you with allergies are suffering out there this morning. Did you hear that? Did you hear what I just said? Well, if you didn't, I suggest you write this number down. 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957. That is the number for Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology, at 1218 9th Street, Unit 2, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. The number to call, if you didn't hear that, 312-0957. Hearing loss is not a part of aging. Do not ignore hearing loss. It's not an age problem, and it might be addressed, and you might be able to get help. Contact her today, Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Did you hear that? I heard that the governor of the great state of Idaho is ready to go, and we say good morning to Governor Butch Otter. Nice to have you on the program, sir.
Good morning, Zeb. Good talking to you again.
Well, I haven't seen you since, about 3 weeks ago. We were over for your induction, among others, into the Rodeo Hall of Fame for the great state of Idaho. And by the way, congratulations again.
Well, thank you, Zeb. That was a high honor for me. You know, rodeo has been the love of my life, and the whole idea of rodeo. And it's kind of been an avocation, as you well know. I could have never made enough money to eat on talk about minimum wage. Anyway, to receive an award for your avocation in life is especially precious, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Governor, I want to get things started off this morning because we have a shortness of time, unfortunately, but I want to say this up front. I commended you the day I read the article in the Times News about your saying that, no, we don't want migrant children, that's how the Times News phrased it, they should have said illegal alien children, coming to the state of Idaho. I commend you for that. I commend you for your stand, but also I was offended by the fact that the opposition, Mr. Belikov's office, said that they thought it was inappropriate and nothing more than an election year ploy. You, as the governor, have to protect us, the taxpayers, and I commend you for what you said and did.
Well, some folks just don't understand that this whole immigration thing is extremely, especially the illegal part, is extremely expensive, not only in our education system, our health and welfare system, but in our correction system. And what concerns me and should concern all the folks is, they're now starting to turn up in certain states, and Jan Brewer down in Arizona tells me that they've got several cases of diseases that we cured long ago in Idaho. We cured long ago in the United States. But the kids haven't been vaccinated. They have no vaccination records. And Obama turns around, invites all these folks up here. They talk about walking 2,000 miles from Guatemala to the Mexican-American border. They didn't walk. They brought them by buses and airplanes. They were landing in Arizona, according to Jen, and offloading those airplanes with hundreds of people. And they're doing that. Other places all over the United States.
Bush, let me ask you, and we've been friends for a long time. As governor, if all of a sudden these illegal alien children are being sent here and forced and coerced by the taxpayers of the state of Idaho to, in various communities, fend for these children, how are we, like in Texas, Arizona, and other states, how are we going to afford that?
Well, the only way we can afford it is to take away some of the government support that we're now given to residents of Idaho, to citizens of the United States. Either that, or we got to go out and we got to go mug a bunch of taxpayers again in order to pay for an Obama mess up. And the first thing I think I would do if there was a bunch of folks come in here is I'd quarantine them. And then would have to get them medically tested before we could let them go into the community anywhere, to make sure that we weren't exposing our citizens in Idaho and our health delivery system in Idaho to a major disaster.
I want to get into a little bit about the EPA because I'm very afraid of the EPA. I don't trust them. They are not a group, if you will, approved by Congress. They just have ascertained their own power, almost like the mafia and thuggery. What are your thoughts about how we, private citizens, can fend off the EPA and their always bigger encroachment on our water and private property rights?
Well, Zeb, as you well know, and it was well documented, I ended up in a 6-year battle with the EPA over who owned my private property and what I could do with my private property. And it wasn't until that it started in 1965 and it ended in 2001. Pardon me. It started in 1995 and ended in 2001 when the Supreme Court declared that the EPA had overstepped its jurisdiction and that they didn't have the authority to govern isolated water bodies unless it had a surface nexus. Well, they totally ignored that in these new rules, and that was a court case that was settled on July 19th of 2001. And now they've come out with rules that are going to govern the potholes out in the desert that have absolutely no connection to any kind of a surface water. So I'm telling you, we're in for a hell of a fight. And thank God we got Mike Simpson there that can at least take the money away so they can't enforce that kind of craziness. What
about the EPA and their assumption of powers, though, Governor? You've been involved in politics for a long, long time. Where did they get this big bully attitude that they could take the assumption of power and just dictate and lord over us?
Well, they obviously have absolutely no relationship with the proper role of government. Zeb, if you and I can't get together and decide to take away from our neighbor, from our mutual neighbor, something that is his or a property right that he wants to control, but you and I just decide to do it, that would be illegal. But yet somehow an isolated, unelected bureaucracy can assume that power, and Obama, through the executive order, all of a sudden decides that, yes, this is what he wants to do. He wants to exercise power over control of the water. And, you know, it shouldn't be a newsflash to anybody in Idaho that for a long time those states to the south of us, and especially Nevada through Harry Reid and California, have looked to Idaho with a jaundiced eye toward our water, and whether or not there would be an interbasin transfer via pipeline. And so that was one of the reasons that, you know, we celebrated after 27 years the final decree on the adjudication of the Snake River Basin. And we stuck with that, and Justice Scalia was dead on when he said Idaho is way out ahead of any other state by 25 or 30 years and has done the right thing. Now there's no question who owns the water in Idaho.
Governor, the challenger on the Democratic side of the ticket, A.J. Balikoff, has basically made many statements to say and show that he is wolf-friendly for the state of Idaho. And if we would go back to the original agreement that we had with the environmentalists and also the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service of 150 wolves in the state of Idaho, which we have multiplied that probably by 10 or 15 times, enough is enough. What about wolves? What about the management of wolves here in the state? It doesn't seem to be working.
Well, you know, being raised on farms and ranches all my life, I know the value of our livestock, and I know the value of our livestock industry. In fact, our livestock industry, coupled with the farm gate, is about 28% of our total economy. And, you know, you take 28% of our total economy out of $61.5 billion, and you see what happens to this state. And not only that, what happens to all the tax money that he wants to spend. And so you endanger that. But you're absolutely right, Zeb. All the promises that were made by the Defenders of Wildlife, all the promises that were made by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, the Department of Interior, that once we got 150 wolves in Idaho, 10 breeding pairs, totaling 150 wolves, they would delist. You know, when we finally got them delisted in 2009, well, when Ken Salazar finally said that was the promise that was made on delisting, Idaho, you can manage them. And then a federal judge up in Montana, Malloy, turned that back around a year later. So we had managed them for 1 year. We killed several hundred wolves. We weren't even close to the 150 with a buffer. And so, and not only that, as soon as Idaho took over managing it, all of a sudden, all those people that were going to pay for the predation costs to the farmer that lost the cow, or to the rancher that lost the cow, or to the sheepman that lost the sheep, or the equine lover that lost their horse, all of a sudden they walked away from the table. They ought to be sued for breach of promise.
You know, one last question, Governor, and I've got to let you run. I know your time is very valuable this morning, but headline in the paper this morning, it says, Tea Party could make race tougher for Governor Otter. Why is there such a division in the state right now between the Republicans and the Tea Party? I would think that they'd try to mend fences and put a Band-Aid on their problems and try to have a unified voice. What are your thoughts?
Well, Zeb, in the first place, you know, I would say there's no question there, you know, but we're a big family. The Republican Party is a big family, and you know, I come from a big family. I had 9 brothers and sisters, and there was times when we always argued, but we always came back together for the purpose at which the family unit was created, and that was to govern ourselves. And so, sure, there's some discontent in the party, but I truly believe that when the voting comes, they're going to be voting on principle. They're going to say, all right, who's going to balance the budget? Who's not going to raise taxes? Who's going to defend us against the federal government? Who's not going to declare the White Clouds a wilderness area? Who's going to continue to monitor and reduce the impact that wolves have on Idaho? Who's going to defend Idaho's water? The list goes on and on. And so, yeah, I believe there is some discontent, but when you measure up where my opponent stands and where the Democrat Party stands compared to where the Republicans and myself stand, it's like Ronald Reagan said, that person I agree with only 80% of the time is not my enemy.
Governor,
they're my friend.
Governor Butch Otter, I appreciate your time this morning, and I certainly hope you'll put us on the docket to come back and visit with us in the near future. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
I appreciate the time, Zeb. Good talking to you. God bless.
Thank you, sir. Governor Butch Otter on the program this morning, and we only had about 12 minutes of radio time this morning, and we'll have him back for an extended period of time in the not-too-distant future. So then I'll start taking some questions from our listeners out in the audience. So thank you very much for your patience. I appreciate it. Let's pay some bills here real quick and then take some more calls. Give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. Give us a jingle on the landline. And while I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, don't forget big furniture savings at your Lee's Furniture, floors and more at 459 Overland in Burley. Oh, my goodness. Looking for a recliner? Now, let's just talk about that for a minute, because I think it's going on now 3 years ago, or maybe even longer. Deanna and I bought 2 very comfortable recliners, and they're 2 completely different chairs. You got to go in and try one on, whether you're real tall or real short, whether you're real thin or ample. You're going to have to find one that fits you and your comfort. So stop in and check out their huge inventory of recliners of comfort for you at 459 Overland in Burley, Lee's Furniture, floors and more. You stop in and see them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, Ed. You know, they talk about counting these wolves. That always amazes me, how they can count the wolves.
Mm-hmm.
How in the heck did they count these wolves and come up with a number?
You know, I can't answer that question because I've asked the same question myself. They are a very wary and canny individual, to the point where how are you going to get out and see them? How are you going to check on the exact numbers of the pups? And I honestly believe, I believe this in my heart of hearts, that we have a problem that has been exacerbated way over the 150 breeding pair that we had talked about leaving here in the state of Idaho. And I would imagine from the people I've talked to in the ranching industry, etc., we're talking about wolves now coming into the state where we might be over in the thousands.
Yeah, I think you're dead right. You know, they say the number, and they don't have any idea how many wolves we've got here. How could they count them? It's just like counting coyotes.
That's true.
How in the hell can they count them wolves?
And you know, we have turned into
the area we got in the state of Idaho.
Yeah, and Fred, one of the things that bothers me, and you've been an outdoorsman and you've been a hunter and a guide for almost all your life. Why would we want to bring back a predator that absolutely is bent on killing only for killing's sake? It's not killing just for the meal, it's killing for killing's sake. Why would we want to bring that predator back into existence at the sake and risk of our big game herds and, quite frankly, our license fees that we're missing from out-of-state hunters?
Well, that's true. I know I run sheep for a long time, and I had a heck of a time with the coyotes. But I had a way to get rid of them, too.
Yeah.
And that was strychnine at that time. I could poison them, and I did.
Things have changed dramatically, have they not?
They really have, and a lot of time for the worse.
Absolutely. Fred,
a lot of time for the worse.
It's always good to hear from you, my dear friend.
Right now, like we used to have it, Obama wouldn't be in office.
Amen to that. Fred, God bless. Have a good day. Thank you.
You do the same.
Thank you. We're going to have more calls. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, I'll be right there. I got to get a weather in, so just stay on the line for 1 minute. Weather brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse this hour, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls, with Reese Widmeyer, our manager friend. Hey, it's the great indoors for those who love the great outdoors. I just love going in there and visiting with the people. I love going in there and browsing, whether it's the hunting, fishing, archery, camping, boating, electronics, knives department. I love to go through the knife department. Wow, they got some beautiful knives in there. Stop in to Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin. And now here is the weather. Let's try that again. Now here, I don't know if that was a cough. I don't know if it was a burp. I don't know if the microphone failed. Here is the weather.
All right, sunny skies for today. High of 86. Tonight, expect a low near 55. Now tomorrow, Going to be windy out of the west, right around 20 miles an hour. Still sunny, high of 73. Expect an overnight low near 44. And for Thursday, sunny skies, winds dying down, and looking at a high of 76.
What was that?
That was actually me turning up the wrong pot, and so that was a phone call going way too hot.
Meanwhile, my headsets have extended themselves away from my ears at 6 inches apiece. Thank you very much.
I'm surprised I've done that to you today.
And the weather brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Zeb, you and I have discussed this on the air many times, but the whole deal is about the Wildlands Project and the Yukon to Yellowstone project.
Yes.
Basically, the wolves were brought in here to drive everybody off the land so that they could create 50% of the U.S. into a game preserve for the elitists.
Well, Adrian, when you look at the situation, and you talked about this 15 years ago, whether it's the spotted owl, whether it's the water issues, whether it's the snail darter, whether it's the wolves, there's always been some kind of a poster child for the environmentalists to push us away.
Absolutely, and our food prices are reflecting that, because I lived in California a couple of years, escaped out of there a long time ago, but that's where our food comes from, as far as fresh fruits, vegetables, and so forth, and over 400,000 to 500,000 acres have been dried up because of this fish out there, that smelt. It's just a trash fish, and the government had EPA and the Fish and Wildlife Services and so forth have decided to save the so-called endangered species, which is very questionable, in favor of drying out. Basically, there's dead trees there. I mean, almond trees, orange trees, etc., are dead.
Yep.
And they're dead because they've had no water now for at least 2 years. And so it's really tragic. I mean, it's all about the EPA. It's about this agenda that comes from the United Nations, and that is called Agenda 21, and that they want to control everything and everybody on the planet. And of course, the global warming thing is the poster child of the whole thing, but the Wildlands Project ties into that, and the Yukon to Yellowstone situation, Zeb, as well. And so you've seen the map of what their proposal is, and they're working toward that end. I mean, right now, they've never let up on their plan to create 50% of this country into a game preserve.
Yeah, and I'll tell you,
whether it's national monuments, it's national wilderness areas, or introducing these species that were never native here in the first place.
And the one thing that really bothers me, and give me a short answer on this, I've got some other calls, but one thing that really bothers me, Adrian, is that why would the state of Idaho consider trying to put a man in the highest position in the state that absolutely is siding with wolves, siding with predators, and siding with environmentalists? That really scares me a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure he's in bed with all those people. He's probably going to get a lot of money from them. Anyway, yeah, the situation is really critical. I mean, like I say, the wolves are all over the place, and they weren't native to begin with. And, I guess the governor basically, in some ways, has put out an extermination order to some extent. But that's what needs to happen. I know people that, it used to be just shoot, shovel, and shut up. Now it's just shoot and shut up because, the whole process is just devastating some of my livestock friends up north and around. And I knew a friend that retired years ago from the Forest Service, and they were putting tank traps in. And it complicates it as well because we have these huge, outrageous fires on U.S. government, federal government land, because you can't get any equipment in there because of the tank trap.
Yeah.
And so we have to spit on the fire from the air and send in guys with shovels, to try to fight the fires. And because the game has driven all of the game out of the meadows that used to keep the meadows grazed down pretty well, the game is in hiding, and so the meadows have grown up, so now the firefighters don't even get a break.
Adrian,
fire break.
I appreciate it.
Animals used to provide that.
I appreciate your comments this morning, and I've got to take a break here and get a commercial in, but I do thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Yeah, thanks a lot, Zed.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
You know, and to read more about a viewpoint that I share about the gubernatorial race this year and the Wolves, I would highly suggest that you pick up a copy of today's Times News and read a very well-written reader comment by Frank Priestley. I like Frank. He's a good guy. He is the president of the Idaho Farm Bureau, and he tells it like it is in that editorial this morning in the Times News about wolves and the choice between the two candidates for governor. Okay, read that. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, I want to also remind you about Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens, dedicated and responsive to your needs. That is the truth. They are accessible and devoted to serving others and are focused on your successful future. So all you have to do is call them, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They're there to serve you. Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Okay, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. A couple of updates on a story that we ran last week on Monday. And I want to follow up on this if I can, because it just shows that the bad people in our society, those that are trying to twist and turn our Constitution and those that are trying to twist and turn everything to the liberal left. Do you remember on the Alliance Defending Freedom last week, we were talking about a farm in upstate New York that was run by the Gifford family, and the Gifford family was told that they had to host a gay wedding at their farm or they would be run out of business. Well, they have decided not to host any weddings at their farm, and they have decided to tell the government and the forcing of them having to have sensitivity classes imposed upon them. No. Number one, we're not going to host any more weddings of any nature. So you, the government, don't have any right to tell us that we have to take sensitivity training for gay, lesbian, and transgenderism. So unfortunately, Kerry Kupek sent me this note, and it's going to hurt their business for a short time at this farm in upstate New York, but they are going to fight back. And God bless them for fighting back. And they're not going to have any weddings on their property for a time, and they're not going to be told by the government anything. So that's a little bit of an update. It's a shame it had to come to this, but they're going to cancel that portion of their business. And she sent me this note personally over the weekend, and I think it's a shame that the Giffords have to lose money. They have to lose a business they've built up, but they're not going to kowtow to the filth and the sleaze of gay, lesbian, and transgenderism. And for that, I salute them. Okay. Also, there was a big story last week about letting teenagers sleep in later in the morning and changing, this blew my mind when I read this, changing school starting times in favor of the kids getting more sleep. And the USA Today ran a little bit of a survey, and boy, did they get blasted. Here's one of the letters that came in. The real solution, parents should send their children to bed at about 8 p.m. My parents did, and so did my wife and I, and you won't have to worry about the kids not getting enough sleep. And here's another letter that I really appreciated when I saw this in the paper. We need to teach teenagers that they will be more successful in life if they find out how to work in the world as it is, not to expect the world to implement changes for them. This isn't to say that kids shouldn't expect to change the world. It's to say don't expect changes for some lame reasons, such as not being able to get out of bed on time. So, basically, to the educators that wanted to make school start later in the morning so little Johnny and Susie could have more sleep, bah humbug. Most every parent that wrote in a letter said, hey, like this one, how about we teach teenagers to manage their lives and go to bed when they have an early day? And this one, kids need a decent bedtime and restrictions on nighttime usage of the internet. There you go. We are going to take a little break and listen to the news from ABC. And then coming up, if he remembered that today is Tuesday and it's not Monday, because he's not on Mondays, he's on Tuesdays. Did you follow that? And that's Dr. History should be coming up in just a very few minutes. And then at 10:30 this morning, we're going to have a dear, dear friend of mine, and that's Jack Euler, right here in the studio talking about the sage grouse issue. I want to remind you that next Thursday, September 11th, 9/11, we're going to be broadcasting live and direct right over at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Free popcorn, pop and water, but get there early in the morning at about 7:30. George Mass is cooking a big benefit breakfast, biscuits and gravy, and proceeds go to the uniforms for the Youth for Liberty. It's going to be outstanding. All kinds of door prizes as I choke, and interviews with local veterans and all kinds of fun. So it's going to be over at Ramsey Heating and Electric next Thursday on 911. Gotta run. Be back in 6. Holy cow. Good morning. Welcome back. Hour number, what the heck hour is it? 3. Anyhow, good morning. Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. And then, of course, some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. And our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service, call them, get rid of your garbage, 734-6969. Let's go to the Chadwick at 139 West Main in Burley. Now today, and Gina, I'm going to call you in on this real quick. Today they're going to have ratatouille over noodles with garlic toast and super salad. Now my question to you is, as my lovely bride and I sat looking at each other with a vacant stare in our eyes, what is ratatouille?
It's like a spicy Italian sausage dish.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, it is actually really good.
I love saying that. Ratatouille!
Have you ever seen the movie?
Of what?
Ratatouille. It's a Disney movie.
Oh, you say ratatouille. I thought it was ratatouille.
It's ratatouille.
Oh, it's ratatouille.
Yeah, ratatouille.
You say tomato, I say tomato.
You got it.
You say potato, I say potato. You say, how did you say that?
Ratatouille.
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 And I said ratatouille. Okay.
Yes, ratatouille.
Okay. Well, I guess yours is right because you are the connoisseur. You're one of those with your little finger in the air and your nose up there, too.
No. I might drown.
Oh, okay. Anyway, ratatouille. We're having, I'll say it in a very elegant air today. They're having a ratatouille over noodles with garlic toast and soup or salad at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Bury.
You do that very well.
Ratatouille. Okay. Thank you. Sounds good to me. All right, now let's have Dr. History get in here. Boy, quick, come on in.
Good morning, Zev. How you doing this morning?
Ratatouille.
That really sounds quite French.
Yeah, it is. You got to say it with a flair.
Yes, and you do it very well.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Hey, before we go very far, I just want to tell you how much I enjoyed your thing at the rodeo. I have never seen a standing ovation for anybody that's been honored at the rodeo like you were.
I appreciate that. That is very, very nice, and you're going to make me bubble up all over again. It really hit home, and it was very appreciated. I'll say that. Thank you.
Well, it's just what can I say? It's not the same. It's just not the same. Anyway.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, so.
Thank you very, very much.
Also, I will not be here next Tuesday.
Oh, okay. I'll make a note that you are gone.
A big note.
Okay. And wait a minute, I got to do this right. I bought a new pad just for you. Okay. Dr. History gone on, that'd be the 9th, 9/9.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, next week.
I'll write that down. But you are here today.
I am.
And that means we have something very interesting and informative. Dr. History, go ahead.
All right. Well, treasure tales, buried treasure has always been kind of an exciting thing to hear about and think about. And, there's probably a lot of us that at one time or another have dreamed about stumbling upon some buried treasure and finding gold or silver or whatever. And so I've actually got 6 short stories about buried treasure that has never been found.
Oh, tell me, I'll go look.
All right, so here we go. I'll give you 6 places to go look.
All right, I'm leaving.
So, anyone familiar with accounts of buried treasure legends on the plains and the prairies of the West knows that most such tales are set on the southern plains, and a lot of them regarding Spaniards or Mexicans. Now, although the long history of the Spanish influence to the south is greatly responsible for a lot of these legends, and partly it's because of the milder southern climate, which had an influence, because the warmer climate in the south meant people were more active out of doors, more months of the year.
Sure.
And in the north, so consequently, more stage robberies and one thing and another happened more in the north than they did in the south than they did in the north.
Well, would you want to rob a stage in chilly weather? Think of yourself, man.
No, I mean, if you're going to be hiding out, you don't want to have to be looking for a cabin or something.
There you go.
So treasure story number 1, okay? And actually, these are in the north. So there are not many treasure tales in what is now North Dakota, which was once part of the Dakota Territory, and perhaps because of the reasons I just mentioned about the cold, cold weather. However, one such tale began on a summer day in the 1870s when a Hudson's Bay Company paymaster was robbed of $40,000. Now, the money I'm going to be talking about in these stories is nothing to sneeze about. I mean, $40,000 back then, 1870s, I don't know what that'd be worth in today's money.
Probably $240,000 today.
At least, yeah. So anyway, he was robbed in Canadian money and up in a town called Estevan, Saskatchewan, and it's kind of on the plains of southern Canada, pretty close to the U.S. border.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with that area or not. But sometimes there are a few details about buried treasure tales, including the names of those who buried the treasures and other bits and pieces of information that are needed to kind of make a credible story. So this is one of those stories. Okay, so the unidentified robber, after robbing the $40,000, fled south across the Canadian border into Dakota Territory, which, again, is now North Dakota.
Right.
Well, the lawmen had been alerted by the Northwest Mounted Police and later the Royal Canadian Mounted Police to watch for the robber. Well, the Dakota lawmen soon captured the robber near a place called Big Butte, which is a large grass-covered hill located about 7 miles south of, again, I'm not familiar with these towns. It's called Lignite. What is now Burt County, North Dakota.
Okay.
Now, it's kind of the second county east of the Montana border, so it's over there in that section there. But anyway, in those days on the frontier, lawmen were often a little rough on outlaws, especially if they would not talk. Well, in this case, the lawman beat the robber after he repeatedly refused to tell him where he'd hidden the $40,000. Well, pretty soon, the unconscious robber was taken to the village town of Portal for treatment, but the outlaw soon died of his injuries without disclosing where the money was buried.
They must have whooped up on him pretty good.
Yeah, like I say, they got a little rough with this guy. So he's dead. The $40,000 is gone. Now, the only clue found by the lawman was a rough diagram on the tan side of the outlaw's fur coat. Well, the diagram suggested that he had buried the $40,000 in the vicinity of this place called Big Butte, which is at an altitude of about 2,700 feet. Well, the Dakota lawmen searched time and again for the money, but never found it. Even the Northwest Mounted Police reportedly crossed the border into Dakota Territory and searched in the Big Butte area. And as far as we know, the 40,000 is still buried somewhere on or near Big Butte.
And you know, a lot of those Eastern people, they keep mispronouncing that all the time, and they keep saying Big Butt.
That's true. That's true. Only you and I know the real pronunciation, Big Butte.
Yep.
Okay, story number 2. A few years before the Canadian Paymaster was robbed, something occurred in what is now a place called Mercer County in eastern North Dakota, and this provides a foundation for another treasure legend. The year was 1864. Now, this time, a party of 16 miners returning east from the gold fields of Montana pulled their boat ashore for repairs near where the Knife River enters the Missouri River, and this is close to the modern town of Stanton, North Dakota.
Oh.
And believing the repairs of their boat would take several days, they supposedly buried, this time, $200,000 in gold that they were carrying on the shore for safekeeping.
Wow.
Now, exactly what happened next is a little hazy, but a band of Indians attacked the miners. And all but one of the miners was killed. The lone survivor happened to be away from camp when the Indians attacked. So he hid to save his life, and then he fled the area after the Indians left. Now, according to one account, he later returned in hopes of recovering the gold, but he never found it. So presumably the gold is still buried where the miners left it.
Oh, boy.
So that's your place number 2. Right
200,000.
Where the Knife Fork River comes in. So
okay.
Now you've got $240,000 to go look for.
Yep.
Okay. Still number 3 story. Another tale involving miners who had struck it rich in the Montana gold fields is set in what is now Burleigh County, North Dakota. Now, during the summer of 1863, a party of 24 men returning east on a flatboat down the Missouri River, they went ashore and made camp near a place called Burnt Creek, which, again, empties into the Missouri, about a mile north of where Bismarck, North Dakota, is now.
Okay.
Now, hidden on their flatboat was $90,000 in gold.
Wow.
So, like I say, this is big money we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So, now as the party made camp, an old Indian appeared. He appeared to be friendly, and there were no other Indians could be seen around. Well, one miner thought he saw the old Indian signal other Indians to attack. So the miner shot and killed the old Indian. Not a good thing.
No.
Before the miners could climb back onto their flatboat and take off, a group of Indians nearby heard the shot, rushed to the camp. Seeing the old Indian dead, they attacked and killed all of the miners.
Oh, boy.
So the Indians, finding the gold hidden on the flatboat, they buried it on the shore. Now, according to one account, a portion of the gold was later recovered, but the majority of the gold is still believed to be buried where the Indians hid it.
Okay.
So there's another 90,000. Okay, story number 4.
I'm writing all this down.
Okay, because you're going to go searching when I'm done.
Okay.
In what is now South Dakota, one major trail used for migration, commerce, and communication ran from Deadwood in the Black Hills to Sidney in Nebraska.
Right.
Now, the stagecoaches traveled regularly over this route, and they carried gold, obviously, that was then shipped by train at Sidney. Well, for more than a decade, there were a lot of attempts to rob the stages, and obviously some were successful. And one of those was in July of 1877. A gang held up one of the stages traveling from Deadwood to Sidney at a site 4 miles south of Battle Creek. And again, I'm telling you all these places, and I'm not that familiar with all these little towns, but supposedly they fled with $200,000 in gold bullion plus items belonging to the passengers, like watches, diamonds, money, whatever. But because the gold was so heavy, the robbers reportedly buried it somewhere along a place called Hat Creek, south of a little town called Ardmore.
Okay.
And there are no accounts of it ever having been found.
Oh, my goodness.
So there's another $200,000.
Why, we're rolling in money.
Just sitting out there waiting for somebody to find it.
Get the shovel.
Yeah. Okay, here's story number 5.
Okay.
Pierre, South Dakota. This is the setting for another treasure legend that dates back to the late 1860s or maybe the 1870s, early 70s, but when an unidentified steamboat went down in the Missouri. Now, the steamboat was reportedly carrying, okay, get this, $500,000 in gold bullion from the mines in Montana.
Oh, my.
$500,000. That's almost $500,000.
Why, I would say.
So, details are lacking on, like a lot of these stories, but Most accounts say that the cargo was never recovered.
Holy cow.
And soon after the steamboat sank, the Missouri River changed its course, which rivers often do that over the course of time. But today, the steamboat is believed to be still buried in what is now Steamboat Memorial Park at Missouri Avenue and Crow Street in Pierre.
Now, it would be, I would assume, a little difficult to start dredging in that location.
I have never been there, but I'm thinking that if you went there with a shovel and started digging, the people of Pierre might have something to say about that.
I do have a question. Is it proper in the pronunciation to say Pierre or Pierre? I've always referred to it as Pierre.
And that's probably right. That probably is.
Oh.
So, it's like Ely, Nevada, or Eli, Nevada, you know.
Yeah. So, tomato.
Yeah, all those, you know. But anyway, so whether the gold is still there along with the remains of that steamboat, you know, who knows? But, again, I've read stories about treasure seekers who find out where a boat went down or in a river, and over the course of time, the river changes course. And pretty soon, where the river was is covered with streets and buildings and one thing and another. And so this actually may sound a little weird, but it's very, very possible that steamboat, along with 500,000, is buried underneath the streets of Cedar.
But come on now. It's a little hard to just all of a sudden, oops, where'd the steamboat go?
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. You know, surely somebody have thought, hey, there's some stuff down there, you know, maybe a little difficult to get, but, you know, how deep is the Missouri? I don't know.
Well, yeah, and they didn't have scuba divers at that time, and it was kind of like hold your breath, and maybe that was the problem.
Yeah, so, but, you know, even years and years ago, they had various methods, like with pumping air into like a headpiece type thing, even into a bucket, if you want to call it.
That's where the terminology airhead came from.
That's right. Or bucket head.
Yeah.
Okay, so story number 6. Here we go. The story of another Dakota buried treasure legend began in 1862. Now, Congress, preoccupied with the Civil War, they delayed appropriating funds to feed the starving Sioux Indians at Yellow Medicine and Redwood Falls Indian Agencies in Minnesota.
I see.
And that's back in your territory.
Minnesota, yeah.
Yep. And that's east of modern South Dakota, obviously. But in the meantime, the Indian traders, learning that the government would not make its customary payments to the Indians in gold coins, they refused to sell the Indians any provisions on credit, even though there was widespread hunger and starvation among the Indians.
They did take MasterCard, though.
So on August 17th, a few Indians apparently stole some eggs from a white farmer and killed 5 whites, including 2 women. The Sioux held councils, and most chose war. Well, the next day, 44 whites were killed at the Redwood Agency, where federal troops were trying to suppress the uprising. The following day, 16 whites died in and around a place called New Ulm. Well, during the uprising, a Dakota Sioux chief named Grayfoot and a small band of Indians stole an Army payroll of about $56,000 in gold coins from an Indian agency. Now, Grayfoot and his small band then fled into what is now Marshall County in northeastern South Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the county which borders modern North Dakota was not organized until 1885, but anyway, the Army arrested more than 2,000 Sioux men, women, and children and finally restored order. Well, by then, more than 500 whites, including women and children, and almost 50 Dakota Sioux had been killed. Another 200 white women and girls had been taken captive, and trials followed. 323 Sioux were convicted, and 300 were sentenced to be hanged. However, only 38 Indians were actually hanged on orders from President Abraham Lincoln. Well, in the meantime, soldiers searched for this missing gold, this $56,000 that Grayfoot had taken.
Absolutely.
And this is in what is now South Dakota. So Grayfoot heard that the soldiers were sweeping the countryside, searching for the robbers, and arresting any Indian who had gold coins. So he did not want to be arrested. So he took his share of the stolen Army payroll and buried it near the east shore of a place called Long Lake. And again, I don't know if you've heard of that place.
It's right a mile up the road from Short Creek.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's right located east of the city of Lake City, South Dakota.
Oh, I do know where that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
In what is now Marshall County.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know the general area.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know this because years later, when Greyfoot was an old man and dying, he confessed to his sons how he had stolen the gold. He told them that he had buried his share and where he had buried it. Well, after Greyfoot's death, his sons reportedly tried to locate the gold, but never found it. And from his sons, the story spread. Other treasure seekers have searched for the gold, but there are no accounts that anyone ever found it.
You know, why is it that you've had other stories on? I remember one story in Kansas where these bank robbers or whatever, they buried the money by a road.
Right.
And nobody ever found it. Why can't people find out where all this loot is stored? I mean, we're talking millions here.
Right. Well, you know, as I've read about buried treasure, for example, the supposedly buried treasure that's up at the City of Rocks.
Yeah.
If somebody finds that treasure, and let's say it belonged to a Wells Fargo stagecoach or Wells Fargo, and they go and say, hey, look, I found this $50,000 that belongs to Wells Fargo, guess who's going to be knocking on your door?
Well, yeah, but it's pretty tough to go to Jackpot, to Cactus Pete's, and lay down a Wells Fargo note from 1863 and try to cash it.
That's true. That's true. But if it's gold, you know, and I thought about that. I thought, okay, so let's say I find that buried treasure up at the City of Rocks.
Yeah.
And I don't tell anybody. How do I get rid of it? How do I sell it? How do I get the money that it's worth without Wells Fargo and the government coming in for their share of the taxes on, you know, and pretty soon you're left with nothing but the saddlebags.
That's exactly right, and that's not right. There should be some kind of a finder's fee. There should be some kind of a gratuity paid to the person that found that wealth.
Well, I look at it this way. If you or I had not found it, it would still be buried.
There you go.
Nobody would have it.
I think they should get automatically, after taxes, a minimum of 20%.
Oh, I was going to say half.
You're a greedy old son of a gun, aren't you?
Well, like I say, if I hadn't found it, it would still be buried.
You and Gina are both criminals. She's already figuring out melding it into gold bars and transporting it to Tijuana.
I want half.
Okay.
and you can have the other half of my half.
I get the saddlebag.
You can have the saddlebag.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, now, that tells me that we are wasting our time here on the radio.
Yeah, we should be having shovels in hand, looking.
And a Geiger counter.
Yes.
And we need to hire a professional digger.
Yeah, so we can sit back and...
We'll get Kim Lee from the radio station.
Yeah, and we'll sit in lawn chairs and lemonade. And
little bit to the right there, Lee. You missed it by 20 feet.
Yeah, a little deeper there.
Okay.
You know? But again, there's so many stories, and I've got a whole book right here in front of me of buried treasure legends, and you know, of course, the Lost Dutchman down in Arizona.
Yeah.
It's a story in and of itself.
Well, isn't there a treasure along with the City of Rocks? Isn't there a Wells Fargo bag that was lost over by Malta someplace?
I'm not sure about that one, but I know that in the 70s, early 70s, there was some saddlebags found with gold in them up at the City of Rocks.
Oh.
But it was not the same legend of the gold that was stolen over in the Portneuf area.
I see. Okay.
So it's different. That supposedly has never been found, but this other one was found in the 70s, and I really don't have any details about that other than it was a different robbery that took place there.
Well, listen, you're bored, you're retired, and you haven't got anything to do. Just get your shovel and maybe a garden spade, and let's hit the hills.
Well, unfortunately, our good government, in their wisdom, has declared that you cannot go into a national reserve with a metal detector or a shovel.
What do they know?
Well, yeah, you know, this is Idaho.
Listen, we got to run, but that was a really interesting story this morning, Dr. History. So why don't you go and eat some ratatouille, and we'll chew on the fact that we're going to go be rich.
Yes, that sounds great.
All right, my friend. Hey, Dr-History.com. Tell everybody real quick to go to the website.
Dr-History.com will have stories every week, and even when I'm not on the radio, we will have a story on there every week, even if we are not on the radio.
Hey, tell you what, why don't you and I get together on the phone later on today, and we'll figure out about next Tuesday and maybe run a replay.
Yep, that'll be great.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Good day, Zeb.
Thank you.
Bye.
Dr. History. Very, very nice man. Hey, real quick, I got to tell you, too, our next guest is in the studio acting very professorial, reading. I want to tell you about our guests that help us put on a segment every Thursday, and that's, of course, A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. What a nice store for the whole family. Back-to-school jeans for boys starting at just $10. Boy, those kids can go through them. You better buy a bunch. And they got school shirts for just $9.99, and all the books and the puzzles and the birthday toys. They got everything in there for the family. Stop in. You're going to love it. A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. Really nice people. And Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Drive in Burley. You know, all you have to do to get your questions answered about surgery at the Ambulatory Surgery Center is call 677-8888. That number again, 677-8888. Whether it's eye surgery, ear and tonsil surgery, life-saving colonoscopies, please check with the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Drive in Burley. Along with the Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County. We'll be right back after this.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. Now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. I have one of my dearest friends in the studio. Say something, dearest friend, in that microphone so I can hear whether I've got the right mic on. Go ahead, say something.
Good morning.
That's good. I rewired it right. Okay.
I want it turned down.
You want to turn it down? Well, stop being so picky. Jack Euler is in the studio with us, and Jack, very, very well versed. I want to go back to something quickly, Jack. Short answer on this. In regards to, there was a very good article written in the paper, I think it was this morning, by Frank Priestley, president of the Farm Bureau, in regards to A.J. Balikoff, or however you say his name, being on the tendency side to be pro-wolf as compared to our governor now, Butch Otter. What are your thoughts quickly about that gubernatorial race and the stand? Hold that microphone closer, please.
The fellow that is running against Butch Otter was supposedly involved with the reintroduction of the wolf.
Uh-huh.
Was it true? I don't know.
But he seemed to have taken a stand in favor of the wolves and basically almost leaving them alone with no management. That's kind of a general gist. I don't know if that's fair or not.
That's true. That's very true. And that can lead into another subject, which is our control over federal lands.
Yeah.
And right now, in the Frank Church Wilderness area, the Idaho Fish and Game cannot land helicopters to put collars on elk, deer, wolves, whatever, because you cannot land. It's a mechanical device, and you can't have it in the Frank Church Wilderness area.
Isn't it a little...
If we think nothing's going to happen with this group that's trying to get the Boulder White Clouds put in, that's going to happen in the Boulder White Clouds.
Why is it that we are so naive and basically downright stupid about management? We need management practices today more than ever.
Completely. And there was, a week or so ago, there was a county commissioner that put an article in the paper, a crash course in taking back public lands.
Yes,
and, you know, everybody needs to get involved in this, and everybody needs to know what's going on around them. Hey, we're losing what we had. I mean, what happened in Elko, here a few weeks ago, when the BLM, Mr. Furtado, who is over the BLM office down there, without notice and without hearings, took away and impeded agriculture, mining, recreation, and hunting on Boulder Mountain. I think it was, Battle Mountain. Battle Mountain District.
Yep.
And, I mean, that's it. Took all the grazing, everything.
I knew one of the families, and I do know one of the families very well, the Filippini family.
Yeah.
I've known them for years, as a matter of fact, almost 35 years. And it would have absolutely destroyed everything with their ranch had that gone into full effect.
Well, they were 75 days out of when they should have turned out on the range, and nothing was happening. BLM wouldn't talk to them, and the grass was 18 to 24 inches high, and they went out and they showed. So the cowboys did what cowboys do. They got on their horses and started a ride from Elko to Carson City. 333 miles later, in a few days, they handed the petition to the governor in Carson City, and BLM changed their mind.
Yeah, and it was only because of a couple of people really taking the bull by the horns, basically, and one of them being attorney Grant Gerber, that's a good friend of ours.
That's completely true, and in the same light, what Grant Gerber has done today and is trying to do now is the Cowboy Express goes nationwide. Grant Gerber is behind taking this Cowboy Express from the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean in a ride that starts later this month, and he wants cowboys to go clear across the United States now, and this is the article that was in the Elko Daily Press, and I mean, you cannot go through the system to protect your rights and feel that you have anything. And that's what he's told the cowboys.
Now, this ride that he wants to sanction all the way back to the East Coast, quite frankly, right to the steps of the Capitol, if you will, is this going to center around the sage-grouse issue? Is it going to center around the wolf issue? Is it going to center around the rights of using our public lands? What's the main gist?
A little bit of all of it, because, you know, what it said in this thing I read a few minutes ago, it impedes agriculture, mining, recreation, and hunting. Everybody is involved. Everybody has got to wake up and find out they're going to lose something. I mean, it's realistic of what's going on.
Jack, who, in your opinion, is the motivating force for all these closures? Is it any one group? Is it a multiplicity of various groups and environmental groups and factions? Who really is playing the puppeteer here?
To me, it's the environmental groups, and I know the environmental groups, and I know Dan Ash, who is head of U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and Dan Ash was put in that position by Barack Obama, and Dan Ash was head of the Defenders of Wildlife in the United States when Barack Obama was elected, and the president took Dan Ash from that position to the White House.
How do we fight their money? I know you've been asked this question before on this program, but they seem to have, they being the environmental groups, they seem to have unlimited pockets, unlimited purse strings, unlimited credit cards to keep going and literally just sitting back and smirking at the rest of us because they have an endless supply of money.
Well, they do, and that's what we have to fight, and that's hard to fight. But I've sat at the tables and negotiated with these groups, and Zeb, these groups are not, well, I have to be careful how I say it.
I don't want to get sued.
When the meeting's over and they walk out the door, that meeting just just as well shouldn't have happened, because whatever agreements you have and the agreements that you come to in that meeting, it doesn't matter.
Well, you have said on this program, and I'm not saying anything out of school here when I say this, but you have mentioned to me many, many times on this show and in private that when the agreement was struck between the environmentalists on the wolf issue here in the state of Idaho for so many breeding pair and so many wolves in the state, that seems to be irrelevant now because they set their rules and they reset their rules the way they want them.
But if you go back to the solid information, it is 10 breeding pair or 100 wolves. That is supposedly recovery in the state of Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming, each with 100 wolves. And, we surpassed that, I think, in 2002.
Fred called earlier, our dear friend.
Yes, I heard him.
And I think he brings up a good question that you and I have talked about on this program in the past. But really, how do you get a legitimate count of the wolves? How do they really understand how many numbers they have?
You cannot get a legitimate count because of the restrictions on public lands. The state cannot manage the way they're supposed to manage, and they cannot put collars on animals to find out how many packs there are, to find out how many there are running around. They don't even know how many packs there are, because you can't shoot a dart out of a helicopter at an animal. If it goes in the animal, it's okay and takes the animal down. But if it misses and hits the ground, that is in violation of the agreements of the Frank Church Wilderness Area, because you're putting something on the ground. It's a mechanical device.
So really, what is the average? I know we're jumping around here a little bit between the sage grouse issue and the wolf issue, but they're all intertwined with each other under the Endangered Species Act.
Completely.
But when you talk about the mating of the wolves and the pups, now most of the litters are what, about 6-8 pups?
Average 6 to 10.
6 to 10. And let's say that they have a 20 or 80% survival rate. If you had 10, you're going to have 8 live. And the numbers are enhanced every year. And it's not out of the realm of feasibility and possibility that the state of Idaho has literally almost 2,000 wolves right now. Am I way off on that?
No, you're not. I've heard Fish and Game commissioners in commission meetings say that they believe there's 1,500 out there. I've heard a lot of things, but as you state, we don't know exactly,
but when
and
you
we
have
can't find out.
But when you have the don't know factor and we can't get an accurate count, we really don't know, and we'll never know whether or not we're managing what the agreement said of 100 or 150, or whether we've got 1,500. I mean, we're really subservient to whatever the environmentalists want.
I know it. And then they throw these figures back at us when we start talking about it. And, it's frustrating. But back to what you ask about, who's involved in this ride and who's involved in these issues. Right here are some of the things that Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife has put together. It's a resolution that of sportsmen's issues that is going to be carried by these cowboys to Washington, D.C.
Okay, now where is the starting point? Are they going to lead from Elko, or are they
going to lead from the Pacific Ocean?
Okay, and go all the way back to
The Atlantic, or in Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. And what do they hope to achieve through Grant, Gerber, and others? Are they going to try to bring a public awareness in the news media? Are they trying to try to make a more concentrated effort to make people aware of the joke that the environmental issue is with the Endangered Species Act? What are they going to try to do?
The real thing that you have to pinpoint some of the things, and the Endangered Species Act is going to be one of them, but also take back public lands in the West, and so that the ranchers can operate from year to year and know what they're doing. I mean, like in Nevada, they're paying their fees, but they were told they couldn't turn out.
Yeah. They're not all like the Cleavon Bundys, and they're not taking advantage. They're paying, they're honoring their commitment, and they're paying their grazing fees, and then they're having the rug pulled out from underneath them.
That's right. And Bundy, I don't know if you got the latest magazine out of Nevada.
The Range
magazine.
Mm-hmm.
There's an article on Bundy and Cliff Gardner, who I know, and Hage.
Right,
and
Wayne Hage.
It named those three ranchers that have been there forever. And, I mean, we have got to do something to protect our rights, and we're not doing it.
Let's talk, right? I got to do a weather forecast here, and I want to come back and I want to talk to you about perception of a story that was in the Times News here the last couple of days. I want to hit that in just a minute. Right now, it's time for the weather, brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Don Scarrow was on the program with us last week, and Don Scarrow left some of the most delicious sausage I've ever had in my life. Wow, it is great, and they live up to their motto. They sell taste one bite at a time. Custom meat processor for you for over 20 years. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. And right now, here is the weather.
Expect sunny skies for today. Going to be slightly breezy, high of 86 tonight, low near 55. Now tomorrow, winds picking up out of the west, right around 20 miles an hour. Still going to be sunny, but that wind's going to drop the temperatures down to about 73. Expect an overnight low near 44. And by Thursday, sunny skies, slightly breezy, high near 76.
She does a great job. Thank you, Gina, with the weather forecast brought to you this hour by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Selling taste one bite at a time. Jack, there was an article in the paper not too long ago, a little op-ed, talking about whether or not to hunt the sage grouse, which is teetering on becoming an endangered species. And, you know, I don't want to mention names without their permission, but I was talking to someone with the Fish and Game on this program, as a matter of fact, and they were saying, too, that maybe the perception of backing off and not really with the hunting dollars and everything helping the endangered species, maybe canceling the hunt would be a worse thing than having the hunt. What are your thoughts?
Well, my feeling is, I guess this is my negotiating stance, is let's sit down and negotiate with these people, and let's come to an agreement somewhere. But what is the other side going to give up? If we gave up hunting, I agree that there is a perception. Now, you know, maybe different people have definition of perception more than I do, but the perception of hunting on sage grouse right now is a bad one if you take the definition of perception. But if you look at, okay, what is the other side going to give up if we give up something? And that's my negotiating stance. Okay, let's sit down at the table and see what they will give up if we gave up that. I mean, they're against us going out there and trying to manage the sage grouse by taking away some of the predators that feed off from them, often the eggs and the babies, all the time, every spring. And let me give you an example. And this is what happened just on one ranch this last spring. And it's a ranch where we had sage grouse because I managed it for several years, and we had sage grouse all over. And the owner of that ranch told me that the ravens now are taking the sage grouse off from that ranch. And he told me he lost 7 calves to ravens this last spring, and he only lost 1 to wolves. So, I mean, they pick out their eyes when they're first born.
Yes.
If you don't, and the environmentalist cusses because we want to manage sage grouse, or we want to manage the predators, but the paper says, oh, we shouldn't be spending state money to manage it.
Yeah, the Times News, and I'm going to be very blunt about this, and please correct me if you think I'm wrong, and parts of their editorial staff are very uneducated about what really goes on out in the hinterlands, whether it's on the range with the sage grouse or whether it's up in the mountains with the wolves, etc. And it's a little naive to lump everything and blame everything into certain categories when there's a lot of contributing factors to the problem.
Tremendous contributing factors. I mean, I don't think they're naive. I think they are in a box and they're going to just keep throwing out this stuff out of that box. And as a result, we get this opinion page about this thing.
Jack, we've only got a couple of minutes left here, and I've got to do a commercial break, but I want to ask you this. You have been a leader now for, since 1994 against the reintroduction of the wolves, and you've been so outspoken and so knowledgeable about what we need to do with wildlife in order to ensure that we have a wildlife population for our future generations. Are we behind the curve or ahead of the curve from when you started fighting?
We're behind it. And we're behind it because of the inability to manage public lands and to manage under state law. Because when the wolf was delisted, it was made a big game animal, and that turns it over to the Fish and Game to manage. And they have lost the inability to do their job.
Okay, caller, real quick, I've got just limited time. Go ahead with your question, please.
One of the things I've noticed, like you said this morning, Frank Priestley wrote in the op-ed in the paper, but I get the Farm Bureau magazine, and I've been reading those articles in there. And one of the things that they've wrote in those articles lately was that the Fish and Game, or the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, have said that there are no wolves in Utah. And it absolutely is just a joke that they can try to tell us such a thing when they know that the wolves are right down there on the border, and then there's been evidence that there is wolves on ranches in Utah. But, like you said this morning, that Frank Priestley and the others that op-ed in there have really done some good work. And if people want to check that out, it'd be good. Thanks.
Thank you, Randy. I appreciate it. Jack, I'm going to have you respond to that and wrap it up right after this. I want to remind everybody about your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. All 7 locations serving you. They've got a great big tire sale going on right now with the Wildcat AT2 and the Open Country AT2 and the Ultra Z9 $3,900. And the Eclipse tire and the Terramax, all the tires are on sale. All the different tread designs, all the different types of driving that you do. Stop in and check it out at all 7 locations. And the best in brake service. I mean that. The best in front end alignment, shocks and struts, everything at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They really, really care. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Respond to that, Jack, real quick about Utah Wolves, and then I want to ask you one last question and encompass this into it. Will the ride with Grant Gerber, will it do any good in your opinion?
It did some good in Elko, Nevada. Let's go to Utah first. Okay. Yes, there's wolves in Utah, and we can just end it there. People need to get involved in these issues, and that's why, yes, I feel that it's like Grant Gerber said to these cowboys that got taken off the range on Battle Mountain. He said, if we go to court, we can win, but it's going to take 5 to 10 years. Right. They didn't have that time. They had to have their cattle on the range this year. That's why they did the ride. And by the time they rode 333 miles, yes, they had their range rights back, and the cattle, Mr. Hurtado, changed his mind and said, put the cattle out on the range. And this is part of our Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife paperwork that's going back to Washington, D.C. It says, whereas mismanagement on public lands has been generally by misuse of the Endangered Species Act and reduction in grazing and logging by the BLM and Forest Service. As a result of fires, we have increased, and Idaho has become the most burned out state in the United States.
I agree. I got to run, Jack, but thank God for you. Thank God for all you do to help us, the residents and citizens of this state, with common sense and not to be overrun with the environmental movement. Thank you for everything you do. Please come back in the near future.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Zeb. Somebody's got to start standing up and fighting.
Amen. And I mean, that's the truth. Thank you. Got to run, and we'll be back tomorrow with a whole plate of good guests to listen to right here on Zeb at the Ranch, 8:06 tomorrow morning. The way things were, the way things ought to be. We'll see you then. Have a good day.